Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in. So this video is aimed to help out new AR-15 buyers or people that are looking to get into owning an AR-15. The main thing I want to touch on, and the reason why I'm making this video, is because one of my viewers in one of my other videos, I don't know if he wants me to say his name or not, so I'm not going to, but he basically asked me what really makes the difference between an expensive AR-15 versus a budget AR-15, especially when they both say have the same type of barrel material. And so coming from me, my opinion and my experience with AR-15s is when it comes to when you see an expensive company that says they're using, and this is going to be an example, it's not really the actual quality, but this is just kind of representing a barrel blank, if you will. And let's say what you'll see is one company, the more expensive one, will say theirs is made out of 4150 steel. And you'll see on the other company, the lower end, they have the same type of advertisements, and theirs is made out of 4150 steel as well. What's the real difference in it? Why is this one costing 3 times more or 4 times more than the lower end if they're both made out of the same steel? So if you were to cut this in half, the higher end will be over here, the lower end will be over here. The higher end company, when they mill this out to make their barrels, they're going to put a lot better quality control in it. They're going to inspect each and every one of those parts that come out of the machine, and they're going to make sure they're within their tolerances. The lower end company will generally have a tendency to inspect 1 or 2 that come out of the machine and judge their tolerances based on those 1 or 2 out of the whole entire, let's say, batch of 10. Okay, by them not inspecting all 10 of the barrels, it allows them to save time, and that time is saving money by them not having to check each and every barrel. So if they were to have a problem with, let's say, one of the barrels that they checked, like the 10th barrel they checked, and saw that that's out of spec, now that's when they would go back and check the other barrels prior to that. But if they don't have to check every single barrel, they're saving time, saving you money. So that's where you get one part of your cost reduction in with the lower end barrel. Another thing with the higher end companies is they're going to treat their barrels with materials that will cause it to be more stronger, if you will. I don't want to confuse you, but just be stronger in terms, while the lower end company is just going to pretty much drill it out and call it a day. So the higher end company will probably add chrome lining to it. They'll put a heavier weather resistant type of material on it. They'll treat it so that it can take higher round counts. And by treat it, just like an example of heat treating, they'll heat treat it in a different manner, or heat treat it better than, let's say, a lower end company that may not heat treat it at all. So adding those processes to it will add time, will add more equipment, will add more cost to this barrel, but in turn, doing all that stuff, you're getting a better barrel out of the same piece of material. The lower end company's barrel will still run very well, but it may not hold up to the harsher condition. Like this barrel, if the high end barrel was made out of the same, you could leave this out in the weather. This is just an example I'm going. You could leave this out in the weather and come back in a couple of weeks and you wouldn't have any rust on it. While you take this, you throw this out in the weather, and the finish they have on this will cause it to rust within a day or 2. So having the same type of material or same type of metals that they're using their barrels out of doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the same type of care in that barrel. All right. Now, just because you don't get that same type of care in the barrels when it comes to the finish and the internal parts not being chrome lined and all that stuff doesn't mean you're not going to get a barrel that's not going to last you. Because if you're the type of individual that does a lot of shooting, or you're planning on doing a lot of shooting, and you already know you can do that shooting, why? Because you have the ammo, you have the places to do massive amounts of rapid firing, a higher end AR-15 would probably suit you a lot better. And I'm not saying a $2,000 AR-15 would be the best. I mean, it may be the best, but it may just be overkill for what you're doing for it. For those that are just looking to go out recreational shooting, you know, 100 rounds here, 100 rounds there out of their AR-15, a lower end AR-15 barrel is going to last you for years. This right here is what I would consider my budget AR-15. Is actually the barrel for my very first AR-15. I had that 15, or I had the that AR-15 for 12 years before I shot this barrel out and my bullets started tumbling. And what I mean by shot it out is the rifling in it is no longer strong enough, or no longer there to stabilize the bullet. So that's what I mean by shot out the barrel. It took me 12 years of shooting to do that with my budget AR-15. Okay. And I like to estimate that I put 1,000 rounds a year through my gun. So let's say 12,000 rounds went through this over the time that I've had it. And while doing it, I used to shoot rapid fire. I used to shoot bump firing. I used to do all that stuff with it. And I'll show some clips because I still do it with this gun right now today. Is the other half of that budget AR-15. This is the lower half of it. So it's going on 15 years now, and I still have this lower half. The only thing I changed out was the springs. So my budget AR-15 has lasted me about 12 years before I had to change out the main component, which is the barrel. A higher end AR-15 is going to last you probably 4 times, or I wouldn't say 4 times, but it'll last you a lot longer than that. All right. And like I said, mind you, I was shooting steel case. I was shooting rapid fire with those steel case. And this was during a time where ammo was a lot cheaper and a lot available. Nowadays, with ammo being so expensive and harder to find, a budget AR-15 will probably do you just fine. Something else when it comes to the finish that I was talking about earlier with the high-end companies making, is their internal parts are also going to have this corrosion resistant finishes. So with that, they're going to have better ability to withstand that type of weather. So just the time, materials, and quality put into these materials to make the higher end AR, that stuff adds up when it comes to personnel costs, machinery costs, to get it to have that performance. The lower end companies don't have to put that much work into their barrels. So those points that I just made are what I would consider the most important differences between getting a higher end AR-15 and a lower cost AR-15. Because I feel that you can also get a low cost AR-15 and still buy, let's say, a barrel that's going to have the quality to run those higher round counts while still keeping your AR-15 below the $1,000 mark. But that's going to be, or require you to actually build it yourself. I'm trying to touch more so on straight out of the box from a company to the range. That's what I'm more so trying to touch on, the lower end quality companies to the high end quality companies. Nowadays, I feel that the lower end quality companies are putting out great rifles because of individuals' ability to see how they work on YouTube. YouTube is a big factor on these companies being better with their parts, being better with their quality control. Because if you got a crappy company out there with YouTube, somebody's going to review it. Enough people are going to review it and say this is crap, and nobody's going to buy it, and the company's not going to make any money. While the lower end companies nowadays, they can put out these lower end budget AR-15s. People can review it. They can show you firsthand that they work. And if you think about how you're going to be using it, a low-end AR-15 will be probably your best bet. So if I missed anything, which I know I missed a lot when I didn't talk about the furniture and none of that stuff, because all that can add up the cost on it as well. But the most important things when it comes to determining your rifle, in my opinion, would be the barrel, the internal parts, and how you plan on using that AR-15. So until next time, y'all take care. Thanks for watching, and let's go, Brandon.